daily news for the 22nd of January. We're almost through January, folks. We're gonna make it. So the cold snap has gone, and now it's like, you know, warm and wet and stuff like that. So tomorrow is the day when, I mean, not tomorrow, but yeah, tomorrow, because I'm reporting this on Wednesday. But Thursday is the day that a whole bunch of people who are living in makeshift shelters, tents, and whatever downtown have the deadline that they have to be out. That's the homeless eviction day on Thursday, and it's going to be a nice day. And so they've had a couple days of like not terrible, crazy, kill you weather to sort of try to prepare. Also, Chris Brown, this rapper, is in shit for rape again. It's like it just keeps like the key is you have to understand consent and actually be willing to work within it. If consent is a major turnoff for you, then you basically have like a fetish or a paraphilia. A paraphilia is like a sexual thing that is too messed up to be a fetish, I guess. Shit is getting completely fucked up in Venezuela. A Canadian judge is going to decide whether to extradite this Huawei exec. So China and the U.S. is fighting over who is going to get this executive, and the U.S. they're going to present evidence to try to talk Canada into us sending her there in 8 days. So the judge is going to decide on that. This MAGA hat teen from Covington who had this thing at the Lincoln Memorial with Nathan Phillips, this Indigenous elder. Now he's saying he wishes he just disengaged from the scene and whatever. I forgot to mention on Sunday, this Nova Scotia mom had this car accident with her young daughter, and ended up in this iced out like little pond or whatever in her car's sinking. She managed to rescue her daughter, bring her to shore. This fire truck just happened to be coming past at the time, and they're fine. Not only that, but after so they go to the hospital, they're fine. They get checked out, and then they go to the birthday party that they were on their way to when they had the car crash. Fucking A. There was a big crazy ass train derailment in Saskatoon that there's like a diesel leak potentially, and apparently it was a whole bunch of grain or something. So this new car buying service company website thing called Clutch wants to change the car buying experience. So like instead of shopping around for cars like in stores and stuff like that, you just tell them the ones that they're interested in, and they just drive them to you so you can go for a test drive with them. And then during the test drive, they like don't pressure you or anything like that. They're just really chill. So there's a whole bunch of stuff like this in the States. Imagine if car dealerships, physical ones, just became like travel agencies, where it's just like there's so few, and a lot of them you can't tell whether they're failing or not. So there's gonna be no weed shops in Vaughan. They decided no weed shops. Scarborough. There's a three cars in a Scarborough parking lot. Caught fire. Police are like investigating it as a suspicious fire. So this is the second like suspicious car fire in the last whole. There was that thing at Woodbine Racetrack. So that, I don't know, there could be a car arsonist, I guess is the implication. So Dollarama thinks that we might want to buy their stuff in bulk online. Or maybe we do. There was this the 260 Wellesley Avenue, which is this big apartment building. They already had sort of a whole bunch of residents from 650 Parliament nearby staying there as like a point of refuge because there was something wrong with their building. And then this building had like this power outage caused by like basement flooding and stuff like that. Property management company is just like not at their office, and so they basically just came home, couldn't even, like, elevators not working. They're trying to like grab stuff and whatever, and find just completely unexpectedly. This can just happen. It's insane. And then at 101 Peter Street, this condo, this is like a lot of water leaks and stuff because of the freezing and what. Our water system is so, like, this just shows, it's kind of silly to be using a network of pipes to transport water around all over the place when, like, every single area gets, I don't know. Anyway, same thing with our sewage. It's just getting and dirtying and cleaning and then using the dirt and all that stuff, all of the sewage and water source stuff, and even power and a lot of our food. It really should just be like hyper local, just like within the neighborhood, within the block or whatever, and we wouldn't have to deal with this kind of stuff. And same thing with, oh my gosh, the gas mains and stuff. I'm probably being a little bit presumptuous with that, but we can anyway. In situ stuff. Some stuff should be in situ. We gotta. So on 101 Peter Street, this condo started. They had a water leak. It froze right away, and so it's just this big scene out on the sidewalk. This is going to happen, so we just have to sort of all just watch out for. There could just be an ice rink on some block that was fine, 3 hours before at any given time during this kind of weather. So there's this like big plan by the city to turn 11 city-owned sites into mixed, affordable, and condo housing. This plan to offer them to developers on the promise of 1/3 of it being super cheap, 1/3 of it being affordable market rent, and 1/3 of it being condos, expensive condos, right? When CBC Radio reported on it yesterday, they unfortunately worded it as if it was going to be 100% affordable housing. The Detroit Eatery on the Danforth went up in flames at 7. It took like early in the morning. It took hours to get this under control. It was caused by a basement fire, really pernicious apparently. And I don't know. The Detroit Eatery is like obviously important, and boom, it's gone. I don't know if I heard this right, but apparently they don't have insurance, and the residents are trying to fund that. I could have heard that wrong, but okay. Oscar nominations are coming out, and there's 8 Canadians nominated. We'll see what happens with that in late February. Ahmed Hussein is commenting on some new crazy immigration policy from some other politicians in the government, just calling it completely half-baked. The CBC is totally obsessed with the new food guide. Okay, all the news outlets are totally obsessed with the new food guide. And it's not really ultra surprising because part of the thing the Canadian government actually said, this is the first food guide that isn't influenced by industrial lobbying. They're actually, I think I remember that right, and it's actually the government saying that. So the gist of it is like, I don't know, it's just more in line with the sort of mainstream dietary stuff that is accepted. So Canada kind of realized like we have 2 different food guides, the one that everybody uses, which is like kind of like a modern consensus, and then the one that we have out there, which is just a reflection of Canada's industrial political corruption situation. I call it corruption, they call it lobbying, but I mean it's when the beef industry is so used to getting promoted by the federal government that they are complaining about how deficient, how like one interview that the CBC did, they were talking about, one farmer was talking about how the plant-based protein has too many calories for the amount of protein it gives you. I'm like, yeah, that's That's one reason it's good. It has lots of calories for the amount of protein, as in like it has lots of energy along with the protein. It's awesome. That's good. That's a good thing. But so basically, the dairy industry, the beef industry, and the grain industry, right? These three sectors. Well, and also, okay, juice, like the big sugary juice, fruit juice manufacturers and stuff. They are all basically set to take a big hit because they're the ones who have been totally privileged by the previous food guides. The way that it, pretended that fruit juice is a source of fruit, and that milk is like now it's targeting sugar, sweetened milk drinks as like a dessert, instead of as like part of the protein family or part of the dairy family. And there is no dairy family anymore. It's just like, look, you got to get protein, you got to get this stuff, and then you got to get this some dairy and some whatever other stuff that you want, but you want to mix it up and blah 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 blah. And then instead of portions, the other thing, there's no portion sizes anymore. So it's not like, oh, kids should get this much and everyone else should get this much, which is cool because two people with pretty much the same body can have like totally different requirements. Like I go from having to, as soon as I change what my days look like, the amount of activity that's going on. I mean, everybody knows you eat more, sometimes you eat less, other times. Anyway, so the new food guide, it's kind of cool. I gotta say, it's kind of cool. So the conditions at the respite centers are so crappy that could lead to disease spreading and stuff. The city is going to take until the end of the month they're going to decide in city council whether to issue a state of emergency on the homelessness situation, the housing situation, because that would allow them to, which is what Councillor Wongtam wants to do. The mayor is opposed to it. He says it wouldn't make any difference. And he just keeps talking about long-term stuff and keeps telling people to ask the province. He's like, go to the province. They're the ones who should be dealing with this. For his part, Adam Vaughan has said, like, the goal is to eliminate homelessness, not manage it, which is just awesome. Adam Vaughan, you're awesome. So it's kind of funny to take like 2 weeks to decide on whether to declare a state of emergency. Like emergency kind of applies urgency, but I guess they want to take the urgency out of an emergency when there's homeless people concerned. So this this company called Magna, they're Canada's biggest auto parts maker, and it's basically the father and like the founder, right, the dad and the daughter keep suing each other. They're the Stronach family, and so this is this big, like, apparently the dad has just sort of gone off the rails with his silly projects and stuff, to wrecking the company, and they're suing each other. This is the thing about family business, when it gets massive and it affects a lot of people, and then there's family stuff and somebody's going a little bit, I don't know. Anyway, so ODSP recipients have received an apology for this recent data breach. ODSP is the Ontario Disability thing. What they did was they contacted the recipients, and 75 of the recipients apparently, out of 100, claim that they deleted the attachment. Like, it's been such a long time since I've even had an email program that would allow me to delete an attachment out of somebody's incoming email. Like on an old school email program, I could delete a message after it's been received. So I'd have to delete the whole message. I haven't had any piece of software like that in so long. I highly doubt they come on, guys didn't delete it. But it's just based on what they said. I don't know. It's hilarious. The provincial conservative bill 66 could actually mess with people's hydro bills if you are subject to a sub-metering company, instead of being with like BC Hydro or something like that. So Bill 66 is one of these massive conservative bills that is just it's just the news about the bad news about it just keeps rolling out over as people pour through it and whatever. So Ian Ohab, 2 years ago, he dumped the body of this woman who he says, died of a heroin overdose or some kind of overdose. Died for some crazy medical reason. Just died in his apartment after they went there. After they met in the elevator for the first time, and this is like he'd already had to deal with his girlfriend apparently dying in his apartment and him having to, deal with that, and her body being found there was all, making trouble for him. And so this time, he meets this stranger and this, and they're like, hey, do you have a crack pipe or whatever? This is his story. Do you have a crack pipe that I could borrow? And, oh, come back to my place. And then he like hugs her all weird. And he's like, yeah, right. And then, she dies in his place. And then, so he's like, okay, well, I was just so scared of this happening again. And, I'd look like a serial killer for sure. So in order to avoid looking like a serial killer, he apparently decided this time to dump the body because somebody he chatted with before had said like, oh, you should have dumped your ex-girlfriend's body and you wouldn't have to deal with you wouldn't have to go through all this trouble. And so he's like, this time I'm going to do it. So he's like, okay, so this time I actually got rid of the body, and it was this terrible, harrowing experience and stuff like that. I mean, if he's completely being truthful and sincere with this, and both times he was like innocent, even though he's obviously like, I mean, I don't know, you do an awkward forced hug on somebody when you first meet them, and I don't know, that just anyway. So if his whole thing is correct, this could all just boil down to like people dying because of stupid stuff that happens because drugs are artificially dangerous because they're so illegal, type of thing. That's my editorialization on that. So her name was Melissa Cooper, this woman 2 years ago that died. So he's pleading to indignity of dealing with a body rather than murder. Meanwhile, Dylan Millard, this guy who killed his dad, killed this other guy that was just trying to sell him a truck and stuff. He's filing this appeal because he says that a triple life sentence is too much. It's too much. So 5 helicopters and a bunch of Canadian soldiers have been deployed to West Africa to respond to some kind of situation there. They're supporting some UN troops. A Canadian astronaut has had this cool webcam chat with some Earthlings back home, some family and friends and strangers, some kids and whatever, to this like webcam chat. That's always fun. So Mike Babcock, the like hockey coach, went on this interview with CTV to talk about mental health. And this guy, like, I was just thinking like, oh my God, this is going to be so cringeworthy. And then he's like, the big thing is just the idea of talking. And it's kind of almost cringeworthy already. But then he starts talking about how, youth are feeling really isolated and stuff. Then he just makes all these amazing points about it. I was really touched. Like, I'm like, man, that's true. It's so true. That's so true. So there's a deportation fraud scam going on. There's all these scams happening and stuff. So these guys will call you up, lie to you and tell you your relatives are already in jail or something like that. And then if for whatever reason you believe that and they're pressuring you, they're like, no, you can't tell anybody, you can't blah, 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 blah. And then they like try to get payment through stuff like Bitcoin and stuff. So CCV interviewed this couple that had this terrible experience. They lost $5,000. And then they had to like remind everybody that like the government doesn't take Bitcoin. Okay, so CAMH is claiming that lifestyle and technology and stuff is, well, somebody from CAMH is talking about there's our new crazy suicide rates and depression rates in young people and stuff. She's like, we're so busy, and there's so much technology and stuff like that. And I'm going to editorialize on this by calling total bullshit. People keep saying this as old refrain over and over again. Oh, we're so overwhelmed. Oh, we're so busy. Oh, we're doing so much. We've got all this technology. And I'm thinking like, okay, back in the day, let's say before cars, whatever, back in the day, you got the printing press. You're sitting on the streetcar with like 3 newspapers, looking through them. You're chatting with 5 people all around you. You're on your way to work. You're 10 minutes late for work. You're working 8 hours. You're going back home. You're reading more. You're listening to the damn radio. You got to pick up groceries on the way home. You've still got to deal with the kids. You've still got to deal with like, you know, all the bullshit between you and your wife and stuff. You get 5 hours of sleep. How is this different? I'm sick of hearing this crap about we are depressed because the world is going to end because of pollution and stuff, because we're on the endangered species list, because we like to pollute to commute for no good reason and stuff. That's why we are stressed out. That and all the ramifications of that have already started messing with our lives and whatever, but that is why we are stressed out. It's called an existential crisis. Losers. Volvo is going to recall like a bunch of 200,000 of its vehicles, and nothing's happened yet with them apparently, but there's like a fuel line issue from 2015 and 2016. What I want to know is when VW was found to have sold a crap load of vehicles that they knowingly hacked so that they would spoof emissions tests and stuff so that they could get away with having vehicles that were polluting 40 times above what the regulations are. Why didn't we get a recall on that? Every time I'm behind one of these little Volkswagens, I'm like, ah, hurts. So the guy who leaked footage showing conditions at shelters and warming centers around the GTA, which Street Nerd's Kathy Crow has like released to the public, this guy wants to be anonymous. This is how crazy the situation is. Like, if you're leaking footage of what homeless people have to deal with at night, you don't want to be. That's like so. So yeah, that is the very incomplete news in no particular order for Toronto for Tuesday, the 22nd. Have a fantastic Wednesday, wet and warm. Thursday is going to be beautiful.